Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Down CookieCast, it's the football podcast. The guys are here, they're talking football gone and football to come. That's right, all the games from the last week and all the games to come in this week and everything in between. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share the podcast around, people, that's the one. If you've got a football fan in your life, send this podcast in their direction. They will love it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, and it is your weekly football fix from us here at the CookieCast Podcast Network. For those of you watching on the YouTube, you will see not just my face, but the faces of Hull and Nottingham Forest supporters alike. Mr. Stuart, Woodmansey, Mr. Matthew Moore, how are we this week, gents?
Oh, you know. A smile for the people of YouTube for a change.
Yeah, obviously, Matt, conspicuous by his silence there. I assume we'll get into
I laughed, but I'm not sure if it was somewhere between a sneer and just like giving the fucker. Would be the kind of
a sneer of derision, I believe it would go down as. Yes, we will get to why Mr. Moore is feeling the way he is very shortly. However, we will first start with our first game from week 9, which saw Middlesbrough taking on Ipswich Town in what you would have thought would be a top of the table clash. Absolutely not, as most people budgeted as mid-table. However, at the start of the season, Borough seemed to have started the season much better than Ipswich, and that was the case in this game, no less. Borough showed most of the attacking intent in the first half. They drew a slew of saves from Alex Palmer in the Ipswich goal. One or two absolute worldy saves to keep the game at 0-0. All the hard work, however, was almost undone on the stroke of half-time. Ipswich had an attack down the left-hand side, which culminated in Leif Davis getting into the box. A somewhat clumsy challenge, or a somewhat clumsy hand in the back from Callum Britton on Leif Davis gave the ref the opportunity to give a penalty, which he did. To me, it looked a bit soft, but obviously, penalties given. No VAR in the Championship, so it stands. No way to overturn the decision, sadly. Up stepped George Hurst to take the penalty. What he didn't account for was the strong right wrist of Sol Bryn in the Middlesbrough goal. He stood up well, was able to get the save, keep the game at 0-0, and from almost being behind, Borough actually found themselves 1-0 up going into the break. Delano Bergzorg's ball into the box. The ball was played into Bergzorg in the box, and he managed to shrug off Leif Davis, who kind of just fell to the ground. And then he drilled the ball into the 6-yard box. Took a small deflection off one of the defenders, and Cedric Kipre was unable to sort out his feet and managed to bundle the ball home from about 4 yards out. Sadly, it was into his own net. So Borough went into the lead 1-0 at half time. That was on 45 plus 2 for the ONG. 2-0, 10 minutes into the second half. Alan Brown fed the ball into Morgan Whittaker just outside the box. He played the ball to David Strelec on the right-hand side. Question marks as to whether Strelec was slightly in an offside position. Again, no VAR in the Championship, so it can't be referred. But his ball into the box was palmed initially to safety by Alex Palmer. However, he'd only palmed it straight into the path of the on-running Whittaker, who'd continued his run into the box. The ball was around the penalty spot, and Whittaker was able to find the back of the net for his first goal in Middlesbrough colours, and the joy that was etched on that man's face was clear for all to see. And it was nice that pretty much all of his teammates went and celebrated with him as well, because that was, like I say, his first goal in about his 20-something game for the Borough. Just when I'd given up all hope that he might ever find the back of the net, he comes good, and great stuff. Ipswich did get a goal back on the 76th minute to make it a 10/15-20 for the Borough. Corner from the right-hand side by Nunes, headed in smartly by Darragh O'Shea, who sort of peeled off round the back. His run was not tracked by Alfie Jones, who managed to get himself blocked by the rest of the players in the box. Smart little sort of glancing header across the keeper. Sovereign didn't have a chance with it. So that made it 2-1 with about 10-15 minutes to go. Borough were able to weather the storm, though. Didn't crumble, didn't give away too many chances to Ipswich. Held on for a very, very important 3 points, which could be vital come the end of the season. Predictions-wise, no one had a Borough win, so no one's getting any points for the result. I've gone for a 3-2 Ipswich win. I didn't have any of the goal scorers. I obviously had no faith in Mr. Whitaker. No one's in the right mind is picking their own goal, and no one's picking an Ipswich centre-half as a goal scorer. So no points for me. Stuart gone for a 1-1 draw with Sen and Schmodix to score. So no points for him. Matt had also gone for a draw, 2-2. Hurst and Schmodix for Ipswich. Conway and Whitaker as his goal scorer. So Matt does bag himself our opening point of the week. 1 point to Matt, no points for myself or for Mr. Woodmansey. Our second game of the week, sadly, does take us to the City Ground, where Nottingham Forest were taking on Chelsea. And this felt almost like maybe not a must-win for Mr. Postecoglou, but a definitely not lose game, would you say?
I don't know. Obviously, I think last week, I think I messaged you guys when he put the team out of this is a not lose kind of formation, and it was bizarre. That was a really strange kind of thing, and a really good way to get yourself the sack is to leave £120 million worth of player out of the squad completely. Now it turns out that Bakwa is actually injured, so he's been ruled out for Thursday. So fair enough. Maybe £35 million of that wasn't left out for just God knows what. But it was, I think, one of the podcasts that I listened to, they'd said it had very much kind of the vibes of, I can't think if you remember it, like was it Spurs right near when Cooper got sacked, and I think they played Spurs at home, I think, and he played loads of like players that were from like virtually the first game that Forest played in the Premier League, and they kind of squeaked out a draw. Maybe it's against Wolves or something like that. It was like a dire game, and it kind of had that kind of vibes of it, of like, right, we'll stick 3 at the back, we'll go 5 in midfield, we'll try and kind of close it down with a load of kind of, I don't know if you call them work, but like Sangare, Douglas Luiz and Anderson in the middle, and to keep things tight. And they did till half time, and apparently had a good few chances.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, again, I mean, it seems to be the story of it that Chris Wood's gone from being the hottest striker in the league to absolutely stone freezing cold. So, yeah, and then, so, yeah, kind of second half starts. I'm going to butcher his name, and it's maybe revenge on me for every week that I do this. Achempong?
Yeah, I think it's Josh Achempong. I think like that. That's as good as any that I've heard.
So yeah, scored kind of 10 minutes into the second half, and from kind of what I've seen and stuff like that, the kind of what air that was left in the ground went. There wasn't much. And then 10 minutes later, Pedro Neto scored. Apparently, it was something that Chelsea had identified with Matt Sells, that if you knock the ball, like if you nudge the ball, like just from the free kick, he has like a bit like a cricketer has a starter movement for like playing a shot. Apparently, he has this tick that he kind of takes a small step to the right, which obviously throws him off balance, and then they can
trigger.
Yeah, that's the one. But again, I think kind of from the reports and from what I saw, apparently Forest did have some more chances to get back into it, but it was all kind of done and dusted with a Reece James header in added time. But by that point, apparently the City ground was about as full as Hillsborough's tonight. To kind of just put a timestamp on everything. And then it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because obviously there's been two people on this podcast who've been the Forest correspondent, as it were. And one has been unfailingly optimistic. And the other one, has always been feelingly pessimistic. And we're kind of back in those delightful depths that I like to swim in, to be honest. It's kind of been like, I think me and my dad were like, oh, well, it's been 3 years. At least we've had these 3 years to kind of be relatively happy, and now we can go back to kind of the chaos that seems to surround the club. I mean, it's the irony being that we had the same manager for 18 years, and those were the most successful years that we had as a club. But from then on, it's been chaos ever since. So, depending on what you believe, there may have been some kind of... Well, the best thing is, if you go onto TNT Football, no plugs, but you can see there's Marinakis sat in his seat. He's like a little gentle throne above the like on the halfway line, and he's there at 0-0, and then at 2-0. He is conspicuous by his absence, but allegedly, he was possibly in the tunnel, and some kind of punch up might have ensued between him and Ange. Now, those allegations, are not confirmed, and the pictures of Smiley Ange outside of the City ground taking a picture with some young lad with 7 million quid in his back pocket as well as he's driving away. He looks very happy and not a blemish on his face, or not a bit of blood there either. So I don't know how much those are just people shit staring because they've made assumptions about Marinakis that, he's never punched anybody, would be the kind of thing. We know he's got a fiery temper, and the fiery temper fired off quite viciously after 20 minutes after the game, where Ange Postecoglou was told that his services were no longer required after 39 days in charge. 39 days in charge, 8 matches, 2 draws, 6 losses, 18 goals against, 7 goals for. And I think there was a stat that I shared with you guys was if he, on his flight home back to Melbourne, he can watch all the games and all 3 of the Crocodile Dundees and still have a little bit more time left before he lands. I don't want to be the one who said told you so, but I think I told you so 39 days ago.
Yeah, you were absolutely not convinced that he was the man. I think, quite rightly, obviously, you pointed out that he didn't have the players to play the brand of football that he's famous for playing. Obviously, likes his defenders to be, quick, pacey, able to sort of, play a high line. And with the greatest of respect to Mr. Milinkovic, pace isn't exactly his strong suit, is it? So,
I mean, to be honest, I doubt he knows. I mean, obviously, we will talk about the new manager in a minute. I doubt he knows who the new manager is. But if they could have built a manager for Milenkovic in a lab, I would suggest that the new man, it would be his absolute ideal manager. So yeah, apparently in the club statement, this is what worries me. What the fuck happened last time when it wasn't stated that Edu Glaspar and I can't remember the guy's name. The other guy did a thorough and extensive managerial search. You've come up with Sean Dyche. Now,
where were they looking? The job centre? Like that's like.
But my thing is, what happened last time? Because there wasn't a thorough search. Someone just went, Ange Postecoglou? And
was it?
The owner went, he's Greek, isn't he? And they went, well, Aussie Greek. And they went, yeah, we'll have him, kind of thing. And which sounds like what they pretty much did. I mean, I should have asked this. I don't quite understand what Mr. Williams' prejudice against Sean Dyche is.
It's not.
Has he ever done anything to you or Middlesbrough? Like, point to the Middlesbrough where he hurt you, kind of.
So it's not something that he's done. It's not something that he's done to Borough. He definitely has an agenda against Middlesbrough, and I think I can pinpoint the exact date and time when this agenda for all this grudge was born. Unfortunately, I do have to take you back to, I want to say, March, April time of 1997, in an FA Cup semi-final at Old Trafford between Middlesbrough and Chesterfield FC. Mr. Dyche may have been playing centre-half that day for Chesterfield, and obviously feels aggrieved that the referee and the linesman didn't spot the fact that a perfectly good Chesterfield goal was wiped out for offside, or they said it didn't cross the line or something. There was a reason why the goal never stood. Should have done. They should have won the game 4-3. He was pissed off, and I don't think he's ever really let it lie. But yes, he's always had this massive chip on his shoulder about the Borough, and it always seems to come across in interviews that he's done in games when he's played and stuff like that. He's never really had much of a good thing to say about the team. So yeah, it was quite funny actually, because any time that he was not in a job and Borough needed a new manager, there was always rumours that he'd get the job. I was like, there was absolutely no chance he takes it. He doesn't like the club, so.
He was heavily linked in the summer. Like when I was doing my research, I was doing a bit of research earlier, and I was like, "What's the beef? What's the beef between Middlesbrough and Sean Dyche?" And it basically there was like, there doesn't seem to be one. But here's all the times he was linked to be a Middlesbrough manager, and this summer was like extensive. So yeah. So after their extensive search, which linked them to Roberto Mancini, which I was like, that does not sound that. I mean, I think I kept my powder dry in our chat. But Roberto Mancini, I was like, absolutely not. That is someone who's not managed in a major league for a long time, and is managing in Qatar. So there's going to be many dollars needed to bring him over here, and I question how successful he'll be. And the other one was like, what's his name? Silva from Fulham, which seems to be a constant link. He is a good manager.
Well, Mr. Woodman, because they tell you all you need to know about Mr. Silva.
I mean, he ditched it quite quickly, don't he?
Yeah, we were under no illusions at the time, though, that Hull were almost the stepping stone club for his career. That was the one that famously, when he got announced as manager, all of the experts sat around the Soccer Sixes table being like, "Oh, who's this guy? Oh, he's not going to do very well, is he?" And then he's been pretty much a Premier League manager ever since he left us. So
there's this weird.
Yeah, but this is this is the this is the same panel that when Man City signed Kevin De Bruyne from Wolfsburg, they're like, ooh, 50 million's an awful lot of money in it for a guy who's never done it in this division. Well, sorry, Paul, but what you don't know about Kevin De Bruyne, you could or what you knew about Kevin De Bruyne could probably be written on the back of a postage stamp, mate. So maybe just keep your opinions to yourself.
Kind of going slightly onto that, like off that on that kind of thing. On Saturday, they were on true form, as in Tim Sherwood said there's only 3 players in the England team that are guaranteed to play every game, which was outstanding. And they all sat around nodding with him as well. I was just like, this is insane. So I'm. My dad is in full like, what the hell? I don't want the Sean Dyche kind of thing, and I'm like, at this point in the year, what else are you going to get? Is it going to be great football? I don't know. I think one of the things I did say to my dad was he's never had a squad of players this good. So
true, very true.
And the Burnley team that he brought up and got to finish 7th, when you look at that team, that is not a great team. There's some really good players. The Everton team that he had for the previous 2 years were shocking, to be fair. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think it pulls on it can go one or two ways. Well, with Forest, it always seems to go the same way. When you get ex-Forest players, it generally goes wrong. Stuart Pearce, Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane. So, I mean, Frank Clark was good. So maybe it's time, kind of 30 years on, that we try it again. He's not exactly a decorated Forest player, I would say.
Did he actually play for the first team?
No. Absolutely not. Not even close. I think, when you look at maybe his style of football reflects him as a player, and that definitely wouldn't fit in with Clough. But you've then got the likes of, obviously, Ian Wone and Steve Stone coming back, like 2 of my kind of childhood favourite players, kind of thing, which kind of, considering particularly what a cultured player Ian Wone is, I can't believe he's one of the like triad or quintet of Dyche ball, as it were, if we're going to kind of in that phrase, which we definitely shouldn't use because we've had Ange ball for 39 days and that was shit. So considering that they're the architects of this football, and considering that they both, pretty much exclusively played at Forest, that definitely did not play Dyche ball under Clough or under Frank Clark. It got a little bit like that with Dave Bassett. But, hopefully there'll be a little bit more of the quality of player that he's working with is higher. And he kind of knows what the fans want, because at the end of the day, who gives a fuck as long as you're winning football matches at times. But yeah, it's not the most inspiring choice. But I think, as I said to my dad earlier, it kind of got the feeling that Forest tried to run after they'd kind of just walked their first step, kind of thing. It was like, we've taken our first steps. Now let's try and run a 100-meter race under 10 seconds. And it's kind of come to bite them a little bit. So maybe it's a steady hand. It's a bit of a Nuno style kind of a appointment. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I think obviously we said it when Andrew was appointed. Obviously, just give it time. Eventually it'll happen. As that, obviously we were very, very misguided in that belief. But I think obviously the thing with Dyche is he's the complete opposite. He's the complete antithesis of Andrew Ball. Let's be honest. So I think the fact that he obviously knows the club, he's a fan first and foremost. So he's obviously going to have the best interest of the club at heart, and he's just a pragmatist, isn't he? So he's the first thing that's going to happen. Clean sheets, dare I say, is going to be the first thing on his agenda. So
my predictions.
Let's hope that's the case.
I mean, I will say for anybody else who kind of think, I sent you guys the Atletico Mints, which is Bob Mortimer's podcast that he does with a guy from Sunderland called the Dyche Files, something like that, and absolutely hilarious and weirdly on point.
So, to just put a nice little bow on it, obviously Chelsea won the game 3-0. Predictions-wise, surprise, surprise, we all had a Chelsea win. Sadly, none of us predicted either any of the three Chelsea goal scorers. I had Garnacho, João Pedro, Stuart, João Pedro, and Garnacho. Matt had Fernandez, Estevao, and Cucurella. So we each just get 1 point for the Chelsea win there. So myself and Stu off the mark. Matt in the lead with 2 points from 2 games. Changing the tone slightly to a slightly more positive set of fans, we do move to our third game of the week, which took place in the West Midlands, and saw Birmingham City taking on Hull City. I assume you were not in attendance, but you were very happy come the end of of Saturday, so 5 p.m. on Saturday.
Well, let's just say it was a bit of an eventful afternoon in Birmingham. Hull were 1-0 up after a really nice passing move down the right-hand side. McBurney played in Kyle Joseph, who zipped a ball across the 6-yard box, and Jack Robinson managed to just perfectly take the ball in his stride and knock it past his own keeper. So that was a nice surprise. But then the game was back and forth. So, of course, as I keep mentioning, if you're looking for a team to stick on your accumulator for both teams to score, it's probably going to be Hull. And Birmingham did score. Jay Stansfield equalised. A ball was played to the left of the area. A shot from another one of their players was saved at the near post by Pando, only for the goal-hanging, Lego-haired, smug little fucker to score. I cannot stand that guy. Just in case you were wondering. Anyway, but just before the break, Hull were back in the hunt again. Ball down the right-hand side, into the box from Louis Coyle, and it just sort of he just sort of hung it up, and it fell to Regan Slater. So this is the guy who scored for fun 2 seasons ago, couldn't score for toffee last season, and he's also the shortest man on the pitch. I don't know if either of you guys have seen it. Had to put a bit of power into it himself from the neck onwards, header into the right-hand side of the like, you know, like when you see someone take a penalty and it hits the side netting before it hits the back. It was just perfectly just crept inside the post. Great header. But yeah, just before that delight, however, there was a snapping tackle on halfway in front of the dugouts from Kyle Joseph on one of theirs. That was a little bit of a fight, and a claim of racism, effectively. So the managers had a bit of a set to. And by the way, all of the players got involved. Even the 2 goalkeepers came up from their respective areas to get stuck in. And the security staff at Birmingham had to pull people apart and all the rest of it. And the referee went to town with his yellow cards. However, the Hull manager claims that one of the security staff had told him to fuck off back to Croatia, were the words that were apparently used. Also said that Chris Davis had told him to fuck off as well. So it wasn't a very happy man, but he got on with it. He carried on. And like I said, shortly after that, we were 2-1 up anyway and heading into half time. As the game progressed, in the 59th minute, Birmingham blasted the ball over the Hull City bar, and Jack Robinson, the guy who scored the own goal earlier in the game, believed so hard that it was a corner that a huge amount of profanity came out of his mouth directed at the referee, and he managed to pick up a booking. And it's reported that just after the booking was issued, he then also decided to tell the referee to go fuck himself. So he got 2 yellow cards in the space of 30 seconds and got sent off for foul and abusive language, which I know coming from me just in the last 5 minutes or so is something. But yeah, moment of madness after not exactly a great game for the lad. So yeah, Hull had the man advantage, and well, nothing really much happened after that. Cody Drammer managed to hit the post, drive and run down the right, burst into the box, just couldn't quite get the finish on it. But we had to wait until the 3rd minute of injury time for any more goals to happen, and it was Liam Miller down the left, took on 2 players, and then slid the ball across the box to Joe Gelhardt, who tapped in to make it 3-1 to Hull. But again, we couldn't leave it there, because we had to get Lego Hair scoring a penalty on the 96th minute. To be fair, I think it was Dykes who gunned down, sandwiched between 2 players, probably a penalty. Don't really think there'll be too many arguments. Charlie Hughes has looked a little bit inconsistent the last 2 or 3 games, even though we've done all right. He's not been his usual self, and there's been a bit of sort of pushing and pulling here and there. And this was a case of, I think it was him and John Egan. One of them pushed Dykes into. I think it was Hughes that possibly pushed Dykes into Egan, sort of sandwiched him. So yeah, penalty. But thankfully, that was the last action of the game.
It wasn't, was it?
At full time, Jurkovic wouldn't shake hands with his Birmingham counterpart. Walked off, went straight to the dressing room, and then straight to the press conference.
Not a massive surprise if he'd been told to go fuck off.
Exactly. And when he was questioned about it in the press conference, didn't hold back with any of it. Told them exactly what he thought. Less than an hour after the press conference, Birmingham issued a statement to say they had conducted an investigation and they seriously refuted any claims by the Hull City manager. So if that's taken an hour to sort out, they've gone to the security guard and gone, "Did you say anything, mate?" "No, I didn't say anything." "Cool, that's that sorted then." So I'm not sure what will happen. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of charge for players in disrepute or whatever in the coming week, but nothing as yet. But more importantly, it was nice that Mr. Jurkovic got to finish the press conference with. But I'm going home with a 3 points, so I'm happy. So yeah, so 3-2 to Hull. Second win in a row.
Definitely found a little bit of form, the old Hull boys. Predictions wise, I was going to say no one had a Hull win, but that would be a lie. I certainly didn't have a Hull win. I went for a 1-1 draw with Kyogo and McBurney to score, so 0 points for me. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Birmingham win. Stansfield, Fujimoto, and Akintola to score, so bags himself a bonus point for the Stansfield goal. Mr. Stuart Woodmansey went for a 2-1 Hull win, and also threw in a Gelhardt goal for good measure. What I will say here is though, in the Borough and Forest games, there was a prediction from at least one of us in both of those games for a 2-3 away win. We got the right score, just in the wrong fucking game. So very annoying. So the standings after 3 games, Matt has 3 points, Stu has 3 points, I have not got 3 points, I just have the 1. We have 2 games left to go through from week 9. The next one being Hull versus Leicester City. But before we get to Hull versus City, we are going to take a very short advert break. So don't touch that dial. We will be right back after this. And just like that, the break is over and we dive straight back in to our Week 9 games. The 4th of which took place at the MKM Stadium and saw Hull City taking on Leicester City. Now it's a midweek game, but it's at home, so you know what that means. He's there. He's there, ladies and gentlemen. Did you enjoy it? I think it's safe to say probably yes.
First half, definitely. One of the rare occasions I got to go, it was just myself and Mr. Walker. It's too late for the children, so yeah. A really enjoyable first half. Probably one of the best first half displays I've seen, particularly against one of the so-called big teams in the division as well. Yeah, Hull were 2-0 up by half time. It should have been more. The good save from Kyle Joseph on 5 minutes was kind of the sign of things to come, because 1 minute later we were 1-0 up. Pass from Hadziametovic to Gelhardt down the right-hand side, breaking at pace, crossed it low into the box, and Liam Miller with a lovely first-time finish, thumping, curling finish, top right-hand corner. Just 2 days short of his year anniversary from doing his ACL. The club of, I think I said on the last pod that, he made the decision not to go back to Canada, wanted to stay around the team whilst he was doing his rehab. And the club have really looked after him. They made a really big deal about him coming back, and part of me was wondering whether or not it would be a bit of like a pressure thing. He's had a lot to deal with, I suppose, been away from some of his family over the last year or the injury and everything else. But is that cometh the moment, cometh the man sort of a deal. He had a really good game last night. And it was nice that he could top it off with certainly by opening the scoring. He did have more chances after that as well. Both Miller and Joseph had a couple more chances, but it was neither of them that doubled the lead on 31 minutes, although Miller was involved again. Picked a pass down the left to Ryan Giles. Ryan Giles played a low cross in, this time from the other side of the pitch, into Gelhardt. So similar to what Miller had done in the game against Birmingham, Giles did the business this time, passing it to Gelhardt and just basically tapped him from close range. It was one of them passes across where it was billed as the corridor of uncertainty in football, I guess, that line between the defenders and the keeper, where the keeper don't want to step too far forward to get it, but the defenders are kind of still not got a chance either. But yeah, so Leicester, it's safe to say, weren't on form. They did make substitutions at half time. It was to good effect. But the biggest positive for them was actually Giles limping off on 59 minutes. Whilst he wasn't the best at defending, he was working well down that left-hand side with Miller. So the whole thing about the best form of defence being attack was very much true for them too. But he was replaced by Famuo, the kid who we got from Chef Wednesday in the summer on a free. But you ever been to the football and you see somebody have one of them sort of performances where you wonder what competition they won to be there? He was awful, like genuinely terrible. Every time the ball came near him, it looked like a rabbit in the headlights. Every time one of their wingers drove at him, he was 4 or 5 yards away from where he needed to be, not really very close at all. Just everything that Leicester did of purpose came his way. They tested him early as soon as he got brought on, and he never ever recovered to pass that test. So Leicester sensed that weakness, and the weakness showed on 67 minutes when Ramsey, who was one of the half-time substitutions, scored from 18 yards. Bit of a probing move down City's left, and then the ball was eventually brought back to the edge of the D. Ramsey it was a lovely looping finish. I'm not really sure what Pando was doing, because on the replay it looked to be off his line a little bit, considering that City was supposed to be defending. But yeah, really, really nice goal from a Leicester perspective. Just made the rest of the second half a little bit edgy, until Hull decided that actually, yeah, we still can maybe play some football. And it took them until then the 72nd minute to really get a bit more of a grip back on it. Gelhardt had an effort saved on 72 minutes. But then, again, Leicester came back again. Definitely more than just a few people who thought this was going in, as Leicester rattled the underside of the crossbar. The ball bounced downwards, and every single person around me looked at the referee to see whether it had gone in or not, because it was at the opposite end of the stadium. Thankfully, it hadn't, and the game played out for a back-to-back-to-back win. So 2-1 to Hull. Felt like a bit of a free hit, that one for me. I was expecting us to get beat. Any points would have been a bonus, so to take 3 is great. I will say as well, because I haven't done this for a while on the podcast, I'm going to have my little moan about the refereeing situation again now, because the second half performance of the referee last night was a joke. That's not why Leicester were better in the second half. Leicester were genuinely better in the second half, but both teams were denied what were the most stonewall penalties. Well, we'll maybe get to that you'll ever see, in the sense of Gelhardt broke into the area, had an option to pass the ball off to his right-hand side, or to shoot. So there was options on, and he was just brought down. He was just tripped, but it was maybe like 3 or 4 paces just inside the edge of the area. The referee blew the whistle immediately, and everybody went crackers, and then he booked Gelhardt for diving, despite the fact that he'd had his standing leg taken, which was just pathetic. And then Leicester's penalty claim right towards the end. My least favourite new left-back that had been brought on decided that he was going to drag the man to the floor by his shirt sleeve, but the referee decided that that wasn't a penalty either. Obviously, not quite as bothered on that one, but the moment that these guys can start performing consistently, week in, week out, in their chosen profession, I will begin to have a modicum of sympathy for them. Until then, you crack on, because it's not getting any from me. Just do your goddamn job, man.
Well, you could argue they are being consistent, Stuart. They are just being consistently fucking atrocious. Is the sad state of affairs.
I think what got me was there was somebody that was sat near me and Rich that said, "Oh, they didn't give Leicester that penalty because he realised that he should have given us a penalty earlier in the game." It doesn't work like that. Otherwise, why would he have booked Gelhardt? Like, just piss off. Don't make excuses. He was just shit.
Yeah.
The standard is going down, and probably mainly because why the hell would you do it? You need your head read to be a referee. Like, no, like you're absolutely tapped. I just don't get it. Like, why on earth anybody would do it? It's bad. Going through the whole process. Great. I'll go and spend this Saturday or Sunday for 25, 50 quid, maybe a bit of fuel money to get yelled at by 22 knobheads, and then whatever's turned up on the side of the pitch, 50 people and their dog kind of thing. And then you make your way up and you get yelled at by 22 knobheads and like 100 people in a stand. Then you move up to 500 people in the stand, and all the time the abuse is exactly the same. It's probably getting worse, and you're getting paid. I know like Premier League and Championship, they are full time. They're probably on a decent wage, but to be yelled at, and nowadays with social media and people are relentless is probably a polite word. Psychopathic would be a more appropriate one, about finding these people online and sending them messages and saying they're going to do horrific things to their families just because they made a bad decision at football. The standard needs to improve, but also, God, I mean, kind of society needs to take a step back and kind of be a bit more rational about what they're doing. A guy makes a mistake, and this is the problem. It's why it drives me mad when you have the likes of Shearer and Richards and whoever else is on the telly going, "Oh, VAR stinks. What are we doing with VAR? We should just let the referees referee." I'm like, yeah, dickhead. But 5 years ago, you were saying, this is shocking. The standard of the refereeing is terrible. We should use videos to help them. Well, which one is it? Like, which one is it in this situation? Because you've completely, for want of a better phrase, emasculated the referees, as it were. You've taken all the kind of responsibility out of them. You've made them look absolutely ridiculous on telly week in, week out by slowing the things down and, kind of going into all the minutiae of it. And then, when they put the thing in to try and help them, then that's not good enough either. And I understand it's not good enough, and I understand that the standard of refereeing is not good. It's not good enough, but no one wants to do it, and I don't blame them.
There was a talk a couple of years back where I'm sure someone said, why don't they just have ex-professional footballers take it up? They need to get more ex-professionals in to sort of take up the refereeing and stuff like that. And I can kind of see the side of it where, as an ex-pro, you maybe sort of would be able to tell when sort of just when things feel when a decision feels like it should be given and stuff like that. They'd maybe have more of an idea of when the sort of 50-50 decisions have gone, and I suppose that. But I suppose then you've got the argument of fitness. Are they going to be if they've stopped playing because they can't run around the pitch anymore? Then they've still got that issue as a referee and stuff like that. But I just don't know, to be honest with you.
I just think it sounds terrible. Most footballers to a decent standard are making enough money. So do they need to go and do it? And that's going to be the major problem. You're going to have to try and incentivize it for people. It's got to be, you've got to pay them footballers' wages to go and do that. Yeah. And footballers also know the abuse you're going to get, because no doubt they're dishing it out to each other and to the referee as well. And then when you're the footballer who's turned referee, it'd be brutal. I don't think, because like you said, and it's footballers saying this, but once again, Shearer, he's full of these bright ideas. He don't go and fucking do them, does he?
Also, as well, when you were talking before about Mr. Dyche having an agenda as a manager against a particular team, what happens if said ex-professional footballer then gets dropped into referee against a team that's crossed his path in a negative manner earlier in his career?
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And some players, they'd not be able to if they weren't allowed to referee against their former clubs. The ones that have got a list of 20, you wouldn't be able to do 90% of the games.
Yes, it's a problem with not a straightforward outcome and solution. We'll leave it at that. And sadly, it's not the last we'll be hearing of poor officiating when we come to our last game of the week. Sadly, predictions wise, a couple of points taken here. Matt had gone for a 3-1 Leicester City win. Giabi to score for Hull, Decker Dovereid and Winks to score for Leicester. So sadly, he gets himself 0 points. I'd gone for a 2-2 draw. I'd gone for Giabi and Gelhardt, Monga and Fatawu to score for Leicester. So I did bag myself a bonus point for the Gelhardt goal. Stu had gone for a 2-1 Leicester City win. Decker Dovereid and Fatawu didn't score for Leicester, but Miller did for Hull. Stu was obviously known something that we didn't. kept it to himself like the filthy little bastard that he is. So a point each for myself and Mr. Woodmansey, meaning that I moved to 2 points for the week. Matt stays on 3. Stuart nudges into the lead with 4 points from the first 4 games. And our final game of the week took place at a jam-packed Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield for Sheffield Wednesday versus Middlesbrough. This, the latest in a slew of Sheffield Wednesday home games where the fans have been urged, shall we say, to boycott the games, to not put any more money into the filthy pockets of Mr. Dapon Chansiri, to force his hand to sell the club and maybe put some sort of good times on the horizon for Sheffield Wednesday supporters. So it certainly felt like more Middlesbrough fans than home fans in the ground for this one. The Borough, I think Borough had sold out their allocation and they were in fine voice. And any time that the camera panned round to the away section, it was strange seeing a full stand. But as you would imagine,
I know you must find that hard as a Middlesbrough fan as well, Paul. But sometimes it does happen.
He's hilarious, ladies and gentlemen. Borough did use the sort of the rather empty home stands to their advantage. It almost felt more like a Borough home game when they started off on the front foot, and it didn't take long to open the scoring. 6 minutes in, Matt Targett played a ball down the left-hand side into the feet of Delano Bergzorg, who found himself just inside the left-hand side of the box. He almost seemed to overbalance, played the ball he always tried to cut it back to the penalty spot. Missed everybody, but they're arriving from the right wing. Very well timed run actually. You sort of saw the left back sort of go towards the ball, and he just hung back a little bit, pulled to the edge of the box, and struck the ball home was Morgan Whittaker, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't score for 27 games. He's now got 2 in 2, and clearly he will be scoring from every game from now until the end of the season, because he's Borough's one to watch for the season. Give it here first. So 6 minutes in, 1-0 Borough. It continued in that vein really. Borough should really have been given a penalty in the 21st minute. Tommy Conway was very quick to react to a back pass that was played back to Joe Lumley, the ex-Middlesbrough, no less, goalkeeper that's been brought in on an emergency loan, as Sheffield Wednesday found themselves without a senior goalkeeper, as their long-term number one is injured, and the guy they'd also brought in on an emergency loan, Ethan Horvath, found himself suspended as he was sent off in the last game. So they've had to dip into the loan market yet again. Not entirely sure when they've got youth team goalkeepers that could have played in the game. Just saying. But Lumley took a rather heavy touch on the back pass from the Sheffield Wednesday defender. And Conway was fast to nip in, got a touch on the ball, and then was unceremoniously dumped on his arse by Lumley. If you actually watch the clip back, you can actually see Lumley just go, "Oh fuck," and then sort of bury his head in the ground. He actually injures himself in the challenge as well, which just adds insult to injury, really. The referee, whilst far away from the incident, was looking straight at it and gives nothing. Doesn't give a free kick, doesn't give a penalty, doesn't give a foul the other way for a dive from Conway, just gives nothing.
You're going to say it doesn't give a rat's ass then for a second.
Might as well have done. So yeah, nothing really more happened in the remainder of the first half. A couple of decent saves from Lumley kept the score at 1-0. And after the half-time break, it was Wednesday that was the team kind of setting the agenda, setting the tempo in the second half. Had a couple of chances for some smart saves from Sol Bryn, but it was Borough that were the ones who had the better of the chances, and through both poor finishing and what can only be described as revenge goalkeeping, I suppose, from Joe Lumley, because he'd been getting a few pelters in the first half from the Borough fans at the opposite end of the ground. He's obviously now playing in front of the Borough fans in the second half, and he turned into prime Gordon Banks. He was just having an absolute worldie, like saving like efforts from close range, smart saves to sort of like snapshots. He must have. I lost count of the amount of saves that he pulled off, but it must be into the double digits. Again, it had that feeling of a game where your team just has countless chances to score. The goalkeeper pulled off absolute save after save after save, and it just felt like at some point Sheff Wednesday were going to go the other end, break, and score the equaliser. Thankfully, that did not turn out to be the case. Borough held on for a 1-0 win, which keeps them second in the table. Predictions-wise, everyone picked a Middlesbrough win. No one picked a 1-0, and no one picked Morgan Whittaker to score. So just the 1 point for each person, which means that come the end of the week, from 5 games, I had 3 points. Mr. Moore had 4 points. Winning the week with a point from each game on aggregate is Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. Well done to you, sir.
Thank you.
So, week 11. No, week 10. Sorry, that was week 9 we just discussed. I called it week 10 earlier on. I was very wrong to do so, as it is indeed week 10 now. It brings with it 4 games. 2 for Nottingham Forest, 1 apiece for Hull and Middlesbrough. And we start with Sean Dyche's first game in charge of his beloved Nottingham Forest. And it's not a domestic game, ladies and gentlemen. He finds himself taking charge for the first time. And it's a battle of former European champions as Nottingham Forest take on FC Porto of Portugal. It is Mr. Matthew Moore's team. He will give his prediction last. I will start off here. I've gone for a 1-1 draw to start the Dyche reign. I've gone for Big T, Taiwo Awoniyi, to score for Forest. He's in the squad, isn't he? For Europe?
I don't think he is for the UEFA.
God damn it. I'll have to change that. I will change that to Wood. Wood to score for Forest, and Borja Sainz, previously of Norwich City fame, to score for Porto. Stu.
I also have a 1-1 draw. I figured with what you said before, he'll be not looking to lose, obviously, his first game, but I don't know if he'll be able to shore up the defence to a clean sheet in his first charge. But I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've got Froholt for Porto.
Bless you.
Yep. Matt knows exactly why I picked that one. And just because he did the business in Europe last time, I went for Jesus again.
Lovely stuff. Igor Jesus and Victor Froholt. Yes, a good English sounding name. There. Apologies. He's probably Danish or something like that, knowing the melody. Which takes us to the Forest fan.
I've got 0-0.
Hey!
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, can't really complain with that. Would you, as stupid as it sounds, would you be disappointed with a draw at home to Porto?
So I mean, the worst thing is that they put the league on for Europa League, and we are in the relegation zone.
Automate?
Yes. I think if we don't start turning around the results quickly, then we could end up being cut adrift. I just think it'll be, I think it will be a case of set up, don't lose. You might see a lot of the fact that Ryan Yates was trotted out today in the press conference would suggest that he'll possibly be playing tomorrow. I suspect you'll see a lot of gritty midfielders, shall we say? Lots of gritty midfielders are in Forest's future. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I just think they'll set up not to lose, not to concede, and go from there.
I don't think a draw at home to Porto will be.
No, it's not bad. It's not terrible. I think if at the start of the campaign, you'd take it, but with a draw, I mean, the draw away was absolutely fine as well.
Yeah,
it's lost against Mitiad. Planned.
Wasn't really on the cards, was it?
No.
Our second game of the week sees Hull City taking on Charlton Athletic at the MKM Stadium. It's his team, so he will go last. Let's go straight back to Matt for his prediction for Hull versus Charlton.
I've predicted them to continue their rich vein of form. Also, against friend of the pods, JFG Charlton team, so it's always nice to see them get a loss. So I've gone 2-1 for Hull, Gelhardt and Crooks, and Giles Fay for Charlton.
Again, bless you. So there's an awful lot of sneezing going on this pod tonight, isn't
Giles Fay?
What's on this? Okay. Who?
Giles Fay? Giles Fay? Gillesphy.
Gillespie.
No.
Macaulay Gillespie.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, that's how I'd read it.
I thought Gillespie was spelled different to that.
Well, it's probably one of those ones that's... It's. I think it's Gillespie, but it's probably pronounced like Saint or something like that. Gillespie. We'll go with that. I've gone for a 2-0 Hull City win. I've gone for Gelhardt and Crooks to score. So very similar to Mr. Moore, just no Charlton Athletic goal. Right, so that just brings us to the Hull City fan. Are you going?
You know full well I'm not at this one. However, my ticket is being taken by my wife, and she is taking our boys, so the boys won't miss out. They'll still get to go. Whilst
not all heroes wear capes.
We will obviously all be in Scotland, so far away from the land of
Lads.
Exactly. Now, McBurney I didn't mention this earlier on, actually. I probably should have done, but thankfully none of you have picked him. McBurney didn't feature in the game on Tuesday night because apparently he picked up a little bit of a knee injury. Nothing too serious from what's been said, but they didn't play him against Leicester. And there was a bit of a concern as to whether or not we would be able to score, and then obviously went and did what we did. Because it's Charlton, if he's not 100%, I don't think they'll risk him again. So I had
This is Charlton, by the way, who've just won 3-0 away at Ipswich, he says.
Yeah.
So
granted, and they are basically doing currently to the league what Ipswich did 2 seasons ago. Straight up from League One and straight up into the top half and playoffs and all that business. I don't know. I think because we've won 3 on the spin currently, and can we do it 4 times in a row? Maybe not. I've actually gone for I've wussed out and I've gone for a 1-1 draw. So I did predict us to beat Leicester, but I'm not predicting us to beat Charlton. So I have gone for Kyle Joseph for Hull. I would have gone for McBurney if he hadn't had the wobbly knee. And I've gone for Kelman for Charlton. I avoided the obvious Greg Docherty trap on the basis of I've seen how many times he takes a shot in a game, and you can count on 0 fingers the amount of times that happens.
Lovely stuff. Excuse me. Our third game of the week sees my lot, Middlesbrough, taking on Hollywood FC Wrexham. Obviously, it's my team, so I will give my prediction last. Let's go straight back to Mr. Woodmansey. What have you got on the slate? The Borough versus Wrexham.
I've got Borough 3, Wrexham 1. I've got Strelick with a double, Conway with the add-on, and then Josh Windass for Wrexham.
Lovely stuff. I will preempt and get the Sky Sports scores app open to see how many people in the Wrexham squad have very difficult to pronounce names ahead of Mr. Muller's predictions.
Well, McElhenney can't play, can he? Because as the owner, he's not in the.
Well, no, because he's changed it now, and he's just called Rob Mack now, and even I can spell that. So, Matt, what have you predicted for Middlesbrough versus Wrexham?
I've gone 2-1 Borough win, with Whittaker continuing his hot streak, and Nipan,
lovely.
and for Wrexham, I've gone for more.
Oh, we'd forgotten about that big lanky bastard. Oh, lovely stuff. I've got the same result as one of you. I've gone for a 3-1 win as well. I've gone for Sen, Conway, and because he's scoring in every game between now and the end of the season, Morgan Whittaker to score for the Borough. And I've gone for Old Boy Rule, Lewis O'Brien to score for Wrexham. He seems to be, like, I don't know if it's just the way that Sky Sports are putting their sort of squads together, but he looked like he was playing in behind the striker in the last game.
Wow.
Definitely would have played that far forward for the Borough. So interesting. Which takes us to our final game of the week, and it's everyone's favourite plucky little underdogs, Bournemouth, AFC Bournemouth at their huge, massive, windproof stadium down on the south coast versus Nottingham Forest. Obviously, will be played on Sunday live on the Sky Telebox after Forest's involvement in European competition. Obviously, it's Mr. Mo's team, so he will give the last prediction of the week for the podcast. I've gone for a 2-1 away win, motherfucker. I've gone for Tavernier to score for Bournemouth, and then I go for Cali Muendo and Ndoye for Forest. Stu?
He's done himself in the book with a long name this time. We didn't have to do it for him.
Yeah, boy.
I didn't enjoy this one. I'm really sorry, Matt. I feel a bit dirty. I was looking at the table and stuff, and I've gone, and plus as well, Forest's record at Bournemouth. So I've gone for Bournemouth 2, Forest 1. I've got Wood to score for Forest. I should imagine that as a former Dyche player, Wood will be firmly in his thoughts. And I've gone for Semenyo and Kluivert for Bournemouth.
Which just takes us to the main man. What do you see for this particular game?
I have agreed with one of you, and my logic also agreed with one of you, and that person was Stuart Woodmansey. And I've also pretty much gone the same score, just I've got Jesus scoring, not Chris Wood. Yeah, we never win at their place. We very rarely draw at their place. They are having the season like we had last season. And I don't see what we can do to change that with 2 days plus a day in between for young Ginge to work his magic.
Young Ginge. Lovely stuff. Well, hopefully it's my prediction and not either of these two's prediction that comes off as, let's be honest, fuck Bournemouth, up the forest, up the trees. That takes us to the end of this week's podcast. Thank you, as always, to these two wonderful gentlemen for joining me to go through the details of our teams. Join us again next week when we'll go through those predictions. We'll give you some more predictions for the upcoming games, and we'll talk about the fact that Sean Dyche is already sort of getting his P45 lined up by Marinakis or something like that because he didn't play either a certain player or the certain way that he wanted him to. Who knows? It's as far-fetched as anything else, but you never know what's going on in Mr. Marinakis' head. If you like wrestling, Formula One, or the ramblings of a very strange man who likes to tell you what's going on in his head, there are multiple other podcasts available on the network. That's just a flavour of what we've got for you here at the Cooking Gas Podcast Network. But until next week, it's tatty bye from us, and we will see you in a week's time. Bye.
So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review where you can leave a review, leave a comment where you can leave a comment. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with literally anybody. I mean, anybody on the podcast, not anybody. It doesn't work like that. It's just the people on the podcast. Send us an email, people. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.